Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Relevant. I'm your host, Trey Slickers, and always I'm joined by Naya Mamarimbing. We have two very special guests today, Owen Kroll and Coach Matthew Price. You guys are in charge of the GLAA Aeros. Can you tell the audience who the Aeros are?
I would say the Aeros are mostly a ministry team, but also a Adventist Gymnastics team that travels around and does gymnastic shows, but more importantly does ministries into local churches and schools.
Awesome. So you mentioned Adventist Gymnastics. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Because I've heard there's some interesting history behind that.
Yeah, so you guys got to see a little bit of a window into what the Adventist Gymnastics world looks like this year when we went to Acrofest.
Yeah, that was something.
So that was the first time that we took a group from GLAA in many years, the first time for you guys. And you guys got to see that, at Acrofest, we were one team of probably 25. We were, there was probably close to 1,000 other Adventist gymnasts just at this one event. So doing a quick kind of history lesson, and since this will be published on the internet, I'm sure somebody will fact check me. I'm going to do my best to kind of give you a quick rundown of where Adventist Gymnastics started and like why we are here. So in the I want to say it was late 50s, early 60s, a guy by the name of Coach GLAA started doing gymnastic lessons, and I believe it's originally started out west, out in the West Coast of California. Eventually, he came to Andrews University and started the Andrews University Gymnastics, a program that I'm a alumni of. And so Gymnastics is kind of seen as like the first Adventist gymnastics team as we would recognize today. Yeah. Other teams began to sprout out at Southern, the Gym Masters, and then Columbia Union College, or which called Washington Adventist College now has one. Union College has a program. Southwestern has a program. And so those five colleges really are kind of like the main collegiate level programs that we have today. Shoot. Although in a lot of cases, many of our academies have had teams as long, if not in that same area of length as the Gymnastics has. Aeros, for example, we're actually coming up on our 50th anniversary here in a couple years. Yeah, 1976, school year of 1976-77 is when the Aeros name was adopted by Coach Chong. But Adventist Gymnastics has been, while unofficial, has been a thing actually even longer than that. So you guys are just getting into the big wide world of Adventist Gymnastics, but it's been going on for a long time. So
yeah, wow. I mean, I know this is my first year on the Aeros team, and it's been quite fun so far. Owen, how's your time been on the Aeros? I know you're the captain and 4 years.
I'm one of the 3-4 years on the team. My freshman year was really interesting because back then we had a lot bigger guys. I don't know if you know Zane Silverstein.
Yep.
Yeah, we had him and his cousin Ben, and we had some real horsepower on the team. But it's changed in a good way, I think, because it's empowering smaller bases like myself and to step up to the plate and work out more and push themselves a little bit harder to get those high tosses and like basing the big butterflies or 3 highs and maybe 4 highs. I don't know.
Maybe. I know that's actually been a big part of my life this year coming to GLAA. When I came, I realized how weak I was, and that's kind of been my journey so far this year. I've worked out every single day that I can. Like
nice.
Every day I'm in the gym and just trying to get, like you said, the higher tosses, the better basing, the stepping up to the plate.
Yeah, you're my back spot.
Yeah.
and tossing. So
Yeah, it's fun.
keep working out.
Yeah. So, how do you guys see Christ in gymnastics?
So for me, I see it in a multitude of ways. The first is that because Adventist Gymnastics is unique in the sense that it's non-competitive, our sole focus is to glorify God in the talents that He has given us.
Yeah.
We exist to lift each other up. I mean, you guys know that you've been, like, since you guys have been on the team, you know that a base's responsibility is to put his flyer first. And to put her safety above his own.
Catch at all costs.
Yes, and that's biblical. I mean, you know, just like the Bible says, you know, Christ laid down his life for the church. We as bases, like, we don't want to lay down our life. Like, we don't know, nobody should die.
Yeah.
But it's that spirit of self-sacrifice for each other, for a higher purpose that I see Christ in gymnastics. It's having that humility. Again, it's not about us. It's not about winning any trophies or anything like that. Yeah. It is about using our talents to glorify God. We're doing the best that we can to glorify Him and not ourselves.
Yeah.
We're using our God-given abilities.
So our theme verse this year is "Out of the darkness, arise." I've been thinking about this verse, but why'd you guys choose this verse for this year at Aeros?
Yeah, so the captains and I, we had a couple different options on the table, and we just kept coming back to this one. So it's Isaiah 60 verses 1 and 2. Out of the darkness arise is kind of like a summary of those two verses. But really those two verses, what I love about those is that it's highlighting the need to come out of the world. The verse says, you know, that darkness covered the entire earth, but the glory of God's light shines on His people, and I see that as a call to come out of the world's darkness and to shine for Him. So we really like that verse, and I think as we get closer to our home show and we reveal our home show theme, I think that verse is really gonna be awesome. It's gonna really tie in very well.
So the home show is going to tie in, like you said.
Absolutely.
That's gonna be interesting.
Yeah,
I'm super excited for that.
I have a question for Naya. As a outsider to the Aeroconis program, what do you think of Aeros?
Well, to be honest, when I was a kid, I've always wanted to join gymnastics. I've always wanted to do gymnastics. I remember when I was at home, I'd watch videos as a kid, and I'd try to follow them. I try to tumble, I try to do cartwheels and stuff. And then honestly, before I came here to GLAA, and my mom and I were looking at GLAA stuff, and we're like, oh, they have a gymnastics team. Now you should join it. And I was like, yeah, I think I will. And then when I got here and I saw for the first time in real life what gymnastics looked like, I was like, I'm not qualified. And I'm not saying I'm not trying to degrade myself, but now I see that my talent is not there. But still, I remember seeing Aeros for the first time. I remember I skipped work for it. It was academy days. I was supposed to be working, but I skipped work because it was my first time to see Aeros perform, and I was really mind blown. I was like, whoa, our bodies can do those things. Our bodies can we can do that physically. And I really admire the Aeros.
Yeah. Our producer Alex is one of those people who can just do anything with his body, all these
he's still working on his splits. But.
Yeah, he's still working on his. But he can do the back round off things, and then he flips, and then it's crazy. I wish I had that skill.
I think we were looking for
now, let me just. I want to say something to Naya. So don't ever sell yourself short, because there are so many people on our team who walked onto the mats with zero experience. I mean, so you never know. I mean, obviously you're a senior.
Me being
So-
one of them.
Yeah, there you go. Myself, I was one of those people who had walked onto a program having basically no experience.
Now it's
That
your
was me
job.
too, my freshman
And
year.
now it's my job. And I actually have to, a lot of credit for that goes to actually my predecessor, Coach Webster. He was the one who kind of encouraged me to try out. He's like, hey, I think that there's promise here. I think that you should try out for gymnastics when you go in the fall. And so ironically enough, I actually walked to practice to tryouts that very first night with my wife, who was just a friend at the time. And we had a week of tryouts. I had no experience other than what I had learned, picked up. My brother was on Aeros, and so I had picked up a few things here and there, but nothing like what I would have learned had been on the team. And spent a week in tryouts, and I waited and waited. I was like, am I gonna make it? And I was like, there's no way. Why would they pick me? And then the roster was posted, and I made it, and so it was pretty cool. And then I was actually captain my third year.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and then here we are years later, and I'm coaching Aeros now. So
Shoot. So, I mean, I think that kind of leads into the question, why are you guys so passionate about Aerocanas and Adventist Gymnastics? Like, what's the driving force?
Mm-hmm.
I guess I can start us off with that. For me, I love touring to the public schools. That is my favorite part about Aeros, is we get to go to public schools where we can't necessarily talk about Jesus verbally, but we have the ability to be able to pray in not to the students, but in our own groups. Like if teeter's going up, they will always get in a huddle and pray before we start sending whatever trick they're doing.
Yeah.
And to me, well, I actually have a few stories of public school students who have asked teachers, like, hey, what are they doing over there? And it just opens the door a little bit to, hey, who is God,
A glimpse of
who is Jesus?
a glimpse of
And
the light in the darkness.
yeah, exactly. Bringing a small light to a dark place generally.
Wow.
And that for me is part of why I love Aeros so much. But also, it's just fun. Like it is really
It is
fun.
very fun.
But yeah,
yeah.
that's the main reasons for me.
I mean, for me, I've wanted to be a part of something like this since I was probably, I don't know, seventh, eighth grade. When you watch people who you look up to, get to be a part of a program like this and see what it stands for and do the cool tricks and stuff. I think most people are like, man, that would be so cool to be a part of that. And then once you actually step your foot inside and you get to be a part of it yourself, and then you realize kind of like, oh wow, this is like, there's so much deeper levels of why this is a cool thing. You talk about the ministry, you talk about lifting each other up, you talk about all of these different things of what makes Adventist gymnastics, specifically Adventist gymnastics, unique, and why we are such a special thing outside of competitive gymnastics or cheer or the things that set us aside in that unique sense are why I'm passionate about those things. It's why I didn't go to school to become a PE teacher or a gym coach. That is not the route I wanted to take. But it is the path that God has led me to because I'm so passionate about it. I wanted to do it for the rest of my life. I've seen how programs like ours can take a student who is really struggling to find their place in high school and give them a sense of identity and purpose and confidence and be like, man, I am a part of something important and I'm good at this, and providing a place for someone where they wouldn't have had an opportunity to do so. I've, like I said, I could give you, lots of stories like of former students that I've had who have just like, this is life-changing stuff. I mean, it really is. And, on the surface, people might say, oh, it's just gymnastics and stuff, but it's not. It's like a little bit of gymnastics and a lot of so much more that is really important. Like our ministry, how we interact with each other, how we interact with our audience. It is huge.
Wow.
It's really huge.
Yeah, so that's the thing that you guys were talking about, like 2/3 ministry, right? And then 1/3 of it is gymnastics, right? I also want to say that one thing I really admire about Aeros too is that you guys have like a music program, music team, kind of like a ministry team too. And I'm not saying it's just music, the music team that does the ministry, but like I feel like that really like adds to like all the ministry. I love how you guys incorporate like a lot of things to like do that ministry for Aeros.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that we are starting to do this year, Owen kind of touched on this, is that when we do public shows, we have to eliminate the spiritual elements from our shows, because that's just you can't talk about spiritual things in a public setting. So one of the areas that we are trying to spearhead this year is expanding our ministry into a social media platform, and so that when we do our public school shows, we can push, hey, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Facebook. We want to interact with you guys there as well.
Yeah.
And when they go and they check us out on Instagram, they'll be like, oh, these people do more than gymnastics. They're seeing our music videos where we're taking music from the passion play that we do, and we post that online.
Oh, that's awesome.
We're working on like doing short devotional talks that we can publish as well. So then again, like that's just kind of like the avenue that we can kind of push people towards, so that we can talk to them about those things in a social media sense. Like that's something that we're going to be working on, that I have actively like already taken steps to this year. So
That's another thing we haven't talked about yet is the passion play.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up.
That is another very big part of Aeros. It's been the same for the past several years actually. It's been the same for a long time, but doing that play and showing the life of Christ is really impactful, not only for the audience watching, but for the actors and the people performing or representing the characters in the Bible up there. It's very impactful.
Yeah, I'm Andrew in the passion play, and it really touches my heart every time, because I get to I sit up during the I get to like sit by Jesus and all these things, but I get to see everybody crying in the thing, and these aren't people who go to the passion play like every time. Yeah. It's such an impactful play that like you could watch it over and over again
and you'll
still cry and be touched and be moved just by the love of God through his great love. So basically what we learned is you may not have a gymnastics or Adventist gymnastics team near you, but get involved in what you have. Get involved and find a way to reach others for Jesus Christ through, maybe it's at your local gym, maybe it's at school, maybe it's somewhere where you can just teach others about Jesus and get involved. Relevant out.
You've been listening to the Relevant Podcast. Episode 8, Adventist Gymnastics, was hosted by Trey Slickers and co-hosted by Naya Mamarimbing. This week, our guests were Matthew Price and Owen Kroll. Today's show was produced by Alexander Winkler, and this episode was recorded in Cedar Lake, Michigan, on the campus of Great Lakes Adventist Academy. Don't forget to check out our website, relevant.show, or follow us on Instagram. Thanks for listening. See you next week.